Hey, welcome to my book channel. This is where I'm just going to ramble about all the books that I'm reading, that I want to read, so that I don't bother anybody else in my actual life anymore with all that. So I'm just going to do this as an introduction. I'm going to show you all the knickknacks on my shelf as like a little tour, and then I'm going to go through my currently reading. There's 5 books I'm currently reading at the minute. I'm going to start with this corner, and this is a little embroidery that my friend Maddie did. It was given to me as a birthday present. She stitched it, and it's basically her as a table. The point is, it came from a story she told me about when she was in school, when she was little, and they were doing a Shakespeare play, and instead of giving her an actual role, they gave her the role of a table, so she had to stand there holding the corners. She had to stand there holding the corners of like a checker cloth piece of fabric and be the table and like hold up all plates on this table. And if I remember rightly, it was her and another person, or maybe even it was one person for each corner, which is heartbreaking and hilarious at the same time. So she did me this as a birthday gift. I'm gonna skip this because this is just a little bonsai kit that my sister got me so many years ago, and I only got it out the other day when I started tidying my shelves, and I was like, oh, that can go there, that looks nice. This is one of the little Momiji ornaments. My other friend got me that for my birthday last year. This piece over here is done by my friend Hayley, who is a graphic designer. Her company name is Hey Jo, and she's amazing. This was a piece she did as a sketch in one of her sketchbook projects just in pencil one year, and I loved it so much that she inked it and gave it to me as a birthday present and framed it. She's so good. You should check out her stuff. Definitely. This is Ugla, my owl. He's one of the wooden slot together toy things. My friend gave me this one year as the owl who delivered a letter, like an old-fashioned scroll-up letter with the wax seal, when he made me Sirius Black's wand. Sirius Black is my favourite character from the Harry Potter series, and so he made me Sirius's wand, and then I just got a little row of cute cow candles that my mum got me on holiday once. They're all like different colours and different scents, and they're so cute, like little cows. Oh. I'm not actually going to go through any of my books, because this is actually only half of my collection. I also have a shelf that's just over there, that it has comics, my creative books over there, and my cookery books, and DVDs, and CDs, and games. But yeah, I might show that at a later date. Currently reading. I'm going to start with one of the 2 that I'm reading with my boyfriend. I really love reading aloud, so at night I read aloud to him. Last year we managed to get through The Philosopher's Stone, Chamber of Secrets and Prisoner of Azkaban by reading at night, and so we're on to Goblet of Fire now. This is my copy that I got when I was little. So I was one of those people that grew up with Harry Potter, so I was sort of the age that he was in the books as I was reading them. So this is my copy. You can see the spine is all cracked. In fact, it falls open to the centre like that, where I've obviously just been so excited reading it, I've just been like, I've got to get into this thing. And so it's completely cracked down the middle. We are only that much through it at the minute. I can't remember what Goodreads says that is percentage-wise, but it's page 130. Chapter 10. And I thought I'd just talk about my favourite bits in it. I should probably do a separate Harry Potter video, just talking about how much it means to me, because actually inside this book, I can't believe I forgot about this, they're in all my editions of Harry Potter, is where my little 10-year-old self has written, belongs to Jessica Royal as Harry Potter books are her favourite, in a silver gel pen, and that still holds true. So this is my favourite out of the series growing up, and I think it was to do with the teen angst within it. So Harry and Ron start discovering girls and the problems that come with trying to talk to girls and ask them to dances. So one of my favourite sections is when Harry has to ask Cho Chang to the Yule Ball, and he meets her and he completely stumbles through asking her, and she doesn't really know what he's saying, and she has to refuse him and tell Harry that Cedric's already asked her, and Harry probably just feels, oh, so cringeworthy. Another bit actually that I always loved was the actual dance at the Yule Ball, when Harry is with one of the Patel twins, and he has to put his hand on her hip, and she's like trying to instruct him. She's like, Harry, dance with me, and he's just so flustered by this whole thing. The other bit is just before the second Triwizard Task, which is the lake one, and Harry is meant to have been in the library all night trying to find a way to be able to breathe underwater so he can do this task, and he falls asleep, and he's woken up by Dobby the next morning. He's meant to be like at the task at this point, and Dobby wakes him up, and he's like, he gives him the gillyweed. Harry doesn't really know what it is, and Harry's saying that he doesn't even know what the task is. He doesn't understand what he has to do, and Dobby's saying, you have to find your Wheezy, and Harry's like, I don't know what a Wheezy is, like, you're talking nonsense, you're a little weird elf, and I have no idea what you're saying. And he's saying like, your Wheezy, you gave me this jumper, and Harry's like, Ron Weasley, you're saying they've got Ron? And that's when he realises he's got to go and like save his friend, and it's so funny. I love that scene. And then of course the other one, which again, so I was 10 when I was reading this, 10, 11, and it's the scene where Cedric dies, and I remember lying on my bed reading that bit and crying my eyes out. Like, it hit me so hard, especially the bit just after Harry gets back to school with the portkey, and so he's got the cup in his hand and he's got Cedric, and he's like clutching Cedric, and everyone's trying to make him let go, and he just won't let go of Cedric. Oh my god, that bit. Whew. So yeah, we're reading that. We're only that much through, so I can't remember how much percentage it says it is on Goodreads, but that's all. We're in that one. Okay, so the second book is The Psychopath Test by Jon Ronson. This is the 2012 Picador paperback version, and it's the other one that I'm reading with my boyfriend. We're halfway through, and it's actually really fun to read aloud. I don't know whether it's just me, but I find that reading non-fiction aloud is much easier for me. Actually, it definitely is me, because I struggle doing voices for characters when there's other people around. If I was just reading it alone, I'm fine, but like performance, that type of, performance is really awkward for me. Anyway, so Jon Ronson is a journalist and a writer, obviously. He's a documentary filmmaker as well, and he writes in a really witty, interesting way. So he like gets all the facts in and makes it a little bit funny, and he just does it perfectly. I really like the way he writes. I can't actually think of, there's another one of his that I'd like to try. It's not Men Who Stare at Goats, because I saw the film of that and it didn't interest me. But there is another one of his that I'd like to read after this. So the Psychopath Test is about, obviously, psychopaths, and he's looking into what makes a psychopath, how to find one. So he comes across a psychologist who claims to have invented this checklist that is now used to not diagnose, work out if someone is a psychopath, what traits they have that makes them that way. And then also he goes into sort of questioning what's the place of a psychopath in society, like where they're found most. It's really interesting. I am enjoying this one. Next up is Possession by A.S. Byatt. This is the 91 vintage paperback edition. I am currently only 60 odd pages into this one, and that is because I actually got this book almost 10 years ago now. I was 18 at the time, and I started reading it, and I think I only got about 30 pages in, and it just seemed so dense. And I didn't get it randomly. I'd researched it. I was under the assumption that I would really, really enjoy it, and I only managed to get 30 pages in. Then again, I have a problem with reading a lot of books at once, and back then I used to do like 7 or more at a time. Now I managed to get it to about 5 at a time, but yeah, I think maybe I was reading too much. I was reading better things than this was gripping me in those 30 pages. So I've managed to get further than that, twice as far as that actually. And it's about two scholars studying two Victorian poets who were around in the 1800s, and one of them has found so a connection to the other where people had previously thought there was no connection, and so they're going through journals and poems and letters and discovering this secret and newly discovered romance between these two poets. And I think the two scholars end up having a romance as well. I mean, it even says possession, a romance underneath. But yeah, it's getting better now, 60 pages in, but those first 30 were really dense and I almost gave up. I mean, I told myself I was going to get to 100 and decide whether to stop or not. Luckily, it's getting a little bit more interesting, but it's got amazing reviews, so I'm hoping it really kicks up. The other two I don't have to show. The first one is The Crucible by Arthur Miller. I'm reading the 92 Heinemann hardback, the one, it's like yellow with a little girl's face on it, and I think she's got devil horns. So I got this one off the shelf at my work, where we have like a book swap shelf. While I was in work, I used to take it off the shelf, read a little bit on my break, and then I'd put it back. And then I came back one day and someone had taken it, and I was like, someone's taken the book? But I mean, that's what the shelf was for. I was being the weird one by putting it back each time, but that's because I didn't really want to take it home. So it got taken away, and that was a few months ago now. So I've been kind of halfway through for a long time. And then I remembered that my brother, he read it in high school and accidentally acquired the copy that school gave him many, many years ago, and he hated it because he had to study it. In fact, a lot of people who found out I was reading it were like, oh, you're reading that book? Oh, I had to read it in school. I really hated it. And everyone I've spoken to who did read it in school hasn't enjoyed it. I didn't have to read it in school, and I am really enjoying it, and I think maybe, there's something about the school's curriculum and the way literature's taught, but I am really enjoying it. It's obviously a classic about the Salem witch trials in the 17th century, and because it's a play, it's got the sections between the actual script parts where Arthur Miller explains the context, explains what he's trying to say, and it's really intriguing. The last one is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. I'm actually reading this as an ebook from my library. I have been wanting to read it for such a long time. I watched the BBC miniseries when it came out a couple of years ago, and it was so fun. It was one of those things. It's not like anything else I've seen before, that sort of like English magic set in the early 1800s, that period magic. And so it was one of those things that I didn't know I wanted until I saw it, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. I've got a couple of friends who we decided to start a book club, and the only book we had in common when we did the matching on our Goodreads was Dracula and Jonathan Strange, and I was like, I want to read Dracula, obviously. I mean, it's on my to be read, but I was like, I've been waiting to read Jonathan Strange for such a long time, and I just recently made a list of all the ebooks that they have at my library that are part of my to be read, and that was one of them. So I was like, it's free, I don't have to spend money on a book, even though I'd love to if I had all the money. We only started last week, and we kind of made the decision to do 2 chapters and then meet up and talk about it. So I read those in a couple of days, and we haven't met up yet, but I'm really enjoying it. I'm not sure if having seen the BBC series is helping me enjoy it more. I don't know really. I'm gonna admit my favourite character is Childermas, and I did love the actor who played him in the BBC series. So I just thought I'd let you know that. Oh, I haven't said what it's about. So it's about English magic. It's It's the beginning of the 1800s, and apparently magic has been dead in England for hundreds of years at this point. There's still people across the country who study it, but purely in a read about it and theorise over it, as opposed to perform in it. It's actually pretty taboo to even suggest or do practical magic. It's about two magicians, and they bring back magic. So that's everything. That's the 5 books I'm reading at the minute. Little tour on my shelf. So yeah, I kind of feel like I've rambled a lot there, but you know, this is the point of what I want these videos to be about, and I'm hoping that the next one I can do my April wrap up of books I read in April and my May haul of what I've bought ready for this month, and I'm just going to talk about books.